my goodness. Really? Look at that cap. Oh, but what's good? It's your girl, Chris Jones, a.k.a. Killer Queen T, a.k.a. Blackout T, a.k.a. Oh my god, I just got my intro right, a.k.a. I should be expecting that more and more. Okay. I'm doing this, y'all. I'm doing this. I'm speed reading. Or, to you, I'm speed reading. As far as you're concerned, I am speed reading this book, okay? Cool? Alright, then we on the same page. Chapter, as last seen alive, I just did this first chapter a couple days ago. So it ain't that long ago, and I only gave y'all one chapter, so I'm going to speed read the rest of it, okay? Chapter 2. I never have considered going on holiday if it hadn't been for the leaflet that came through the door a few days ago. House swap urgently needed. My wife Tara and I are desperately looking for a place to stay for a week, maybe 2. Your property would be ideal as we need somewhere close to the hospital ASAP to be near our precious daughter who is undergoing a life-saving heart operation. We are willing to swap our beautiful, recently refurbished house in Cornwall with sea views. If you think you can help, please contact Philip Haywood. His mobile phone number was written at the bottom of the page. I dismissed it at first. I was in a rush to get to work. I've been off sick for 2 weeks ever since the fire and subsequent miscarriage. My boss, Filk City Ryder, had insisted I take paid leave until after the holidays, but I wanted to go in for the last day of the term to see my class and to wish them a good Easter break. I began to care about those children. I felt responsible for their education, worried that the substitute teacher hustled in to take over wouldn't understand their needs like I did. I also missed the school. My classroom walls decorated with the children's brightly colored artwork, the camaraderie in the staff room, the shrieks of joy in the playground, gossiping with Kara, the young teaching assistant who worked alongside me, even the smell of disinfectant in the corridor. So I stuffed the leaflet in my handbag. Hold on, y'all. Okay, my man. So I stuffed the leaflet in my bag on my way out the door and thought no more about it for the next few hours. I've been dismissed to see the evidence of the fire. The school hall had been redecorated and a new floor installed. But the burnt smell still lingered as though seeping through the fresh paint and the newly laid parquet. The dining room where the fire was thought to have originated was still out of bounds. When I pressed my face up to the glass doors, I could see the blackened hole in the ground where the ovens had been. It was a depressing sight. The children had been told to bring in packed lunches until the kitchens were up and running again, and they sat hunched over hummus, organic vegetables, and cartons of juice in the classrooms instead. It was as the parents came to collect their children at the end of the day, congratulating me for my bravery and asking after Celeste, that the Aldale came to me. Mrs. Hunting, Theo's mom, touched my cast lightly and told me I deserved to get away somewhere. You said you had such a bad time of it, Miss Elliott, she said, in the sort of voice you use on someone whose close relative had just died. Could have ended so badly. Celeste could have been killed in that fire if it wasn't for you. It doesn't bear thinking about. I knew she was contemplating her own child too. I touched my stomach automatically, thinking of the one I've lost. The incident had been all over the newspaper, much to my horror. And there was even a picture in the mirror of me playing the guitar surrounded by kids, fringe in my eyes. It must have been taken when I first joined and was the only photograph the school had of me. A story about a school fire wouldn't have made it past the local press if it hadn't been for the fact that I successfully led not just my year group, but Celeste D. Tongs, the granddaughter of a famous stage actor, to safety. We'd been the only year group in the building that day. Kindergarten and year 1 had been on school trips. Cara had started to panic as the smoke filled the school hall where we were practicing our assembly, and I had to keep calm even though the screech of the alarms made the memories of another time, another fire slamming to me, winding me. But I forced down my own terror, instead concentrating on getting the children and Sierra out of the burning building. Celeste had tripped and fallen, and I rushed back into the hall, the smoke clogging my throat, blinding me and making me trip over too. I landed badly, but ignored the pain as I scooped up into my arms and carried her to safety. I don't think I'm brave. I did what anyone would have done in the circumstances. I'm a teacher, a role that I love, that I live for. Those children are my first priority. It was when I was having my arm x-rayed that the bleeding started. I had been just days away from the 12-week mark. Are you going anywhere nice this Easter? Miss Honey had asked. You deserve a holiday. You deserve a holiday after what you've been through. Her sympathetic words made me realize how lonely it would be to get away somewhere. A proper break. Since Jamie had started his own business, we had been strapped for cash. We hadn't been away since our honeymoon, and that had only been a 5-day trip to the Isles of Wight. After what happened in Thailand, I've been too fearful to travel aboard, too scared to get on an aeroplane, convinced it would crash. So we had the hour-long weekend or week away in England instead. It played on my mind on the walk home from school, that enticing line about a beautiful house in Cornwall with sea views. No, I guess so. Y'all ain't been nowhere. It's been a minute. I guess so. Well, drop it down in the comments. You swapping houses? Your little two bedroom apartment, your little 1-bedroom apartment for a house out of Cornwall with a sea view. For a week or two, just a week or two. Drop it down in the comments. Let me know. I imagined a little cottage somewhere, maybe in a fishing village like the one in Dark Martin. I thought the sea air would do Jamie good. He worked from home so he could take his laptop. By the time I arrived back at the flat, I had convinced myself it was the answer to our prayers. I could hear Jamie on the phone in our spare room that he used as an office. I flicked the kettle on, made a fuss of Ziggy, and started on dinner. It was difficult to cook with one arm in a sling, but Flory, Jamie's older sister, had kindly made a batch of cottage pies and pasta sauces, which I frozen. I grabbed a pie from the freezer and heated up the oven. Then, while the pie was cooking, I settled myself at the kitchen table in front of my laptop to Google Philip Haywood. I don't know. From what we've been seeing in the movies, Googling people, that shit don't work. Google fucking suck. Google like anybody fucking push it on there. You cannot trust all of fucking Google information. I'm sorry. Then do not come for me, Google. You know that shit true. It took longer than normal, having to type with one hand. It frustrated me how everything took twice as long. But then a list of Philip Haywoods popped up on screen. A magician in the U.S., a biologist in Australia, a plastic surgeon in a private clinic in London. I clicked on the private clinic link, and a photo came up of a respectable-looking man in his late 40s with short, dark hair and mustache. Could that be the same Philip Haywood? A bit more digging, and I found his Facebook page. Although the settings were too restricted to see more than 2 profile pictures, one showed him on a deserted beach with his arm around a younger, very attractive woman with dark hair. His wife? And were they in Cornwall? Jamie was still talking, so I searched for Philip Haywood plus Cornwall. A photo came up of a local benefit in Truro. Philip was dressed in a black tie, his arm around the same woman. Okay. She was wearing a strapless length emerald dress. Her hair a cloud of dark curls around her head and shoulders. The caption read, "Avid supporters of the charity, Surgeon Philip Haywood and his wife Tara." I studied their photo for a while. Their wide smiles, their white teeth, their perfect skin. Girl, you doing so much. They look like a successful, highly regarded couple. When their daughter became ill, they must have considered booking a hotel, but found there wasn't one close enough to the hospital. Surely they would be trusted to live in our flat for a week or two if I was in their home. home. Wait a minute. We ain't found no but you ain't seen no pictures of him there with the kid. Not one picture of the whole family. You're like, who is that? Nah, it's a little fishy. It's a little fishy. Maybe the writer put it like that, but it's still a little fishy. We're gonna put a pin in it. Okay. I then searched for Philip Haywood and daughter. A photo of Philip, the screen of Philip, Tiara, and a girl in her early teens with a beautiful smile, sandy colored hair, and the distinctive features of Down syndrome. I skimmed through the article, a small piece of his charity work. See, that says charity work, so we don't even know since his daughter. I was disappointed to know there was nothing more personal, no insight into his marriage or what type of father he was. All I could glean was that he was a very successful doctor who gave his time generously to various charities. But by the time I had finished reading, my mind was made up. That was it? Okay, cool. No need to ask questions. No need to doubt. She's done. We're done. We're moving on. We're doing it. Jamie didn't take as much convincing as I thought he would. I had my spiral ready. I was on holiday for 2 weeks anyway. It wouldn't cost us anything. He deserved the rest. He could take his laptop, as I was sure there would be. Wi-Fi. I had never been to Cornwall. The Haywoods looked and sounded respectable. The daughter had Down syndrome. See, we're just jumping to conclusions. That could have been a charity thing. And was obviously seriously ill if she needed a life-saving operation. See, we're still jumping to conclusion. We're not asking any questions. We're just jumping. We're just jumping. Jump. And if you feel like we're not jumping, drop that down in the comments, okay? Let me know. I got a couple of questions. We'll be doing a good thing. He sat opposite me, his long fingers intertwined around a mug of coffee, not saying a word. When I finished, he got up to put his mug in the sink, shrugged his shoulders, and said, okay, if you sort it all out, then we'll go. I waited until we're eating dinner and Jamie was out walking Ziggy before ringing the mobile number. So you didn't, what? Philip Haywood had a warm voice of a Yorkshire accent similar to mine. He sounded younger than I expected as he inquired which part of the north I was from. Really? So he sounded younger and you still ain't, okay, pin in that. We ain't really asking questions, but we asking questions. You know what I'm saying? And if y'all don't know what asking questions but not asking questions is, drop that in the comments. Y'all didn't see that coming too, did you? Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You saw that coming. You was like, this bitch love finding a way to drop it in the comments. But comments down low. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't tell him. Just made out I moved around a lot. A week in our flat will work out wonderfully, he said, and I could hear the relief in his voice. We discussed where we would leave the keys, at the Portero station near his house for him, and with our upstairs neighbor Evelyn for us, and promised to ring each other if there were any problems. It was arranged for Saturday, 2 days later. I put the phone down full of excitement. How could anything go wrong? We got a couple of ways this could go wrong. You got a couple of ways this could go wrong? I do too. I don't think we're gonna finish all of chapter 3, but don't worry. I'm giving you this whole book today. I could see the stairs punctuating the black sky through this is chapter 3, by the way. Punctuating through the black sky, through the large windows that take up almost all one wall. It's like being in my own planetarium. I lay in bed and try to spot Orion or Plato, but I can't make out any constellations. It reminds me of those postcards that were all the rage when I was about 8, where you had to find a 3D picture hidden in the pattern. I used to give myself a headache trying to pick out a hidden unicorn, a woman's face amongst the rows of triangles and squares. I'm still finding it hard to believe we are actually here, in this beautiful house, with a beach at the foot of the garden. A beach! Happiness infuses me at the thought of the week ahead. Romantic strolls along the shoreline with Jamie and Ziggy, relaxing in a beautiful garden with the sea views, pottering about the high-tech kitchen that looks as though it should be in an issue of one of those house and garden magazines I'm obsessed with buying. Now that it's quiet, I can hear the rush of the sea crashing into the rocks below. It's so euphoric. I haven't felt this relaxed since before the fire. Oh, poor child. I wonder how the Haywoods are getting on in our flats. Since you ain't seen them and you don't actually know what they look like. And if we go on our pictures and we just guessing. Because at this point, we don't even know who at your house. you know. Okay. Who is at her house? Why are we trying to figure that out? I don't know. So early in the book. Calm down, squeeze. Are they disappointed with it? They must be if they are used to living like this. I think of Tiara in her elegant clothes having to slum it in our bedroom with the second-hand furniture from Sylvia. Or are they so wrapped up in worry for their daughter that they couldn't care where they stay, just as long as they are close to the hospital, to her? Jamie stretches lazily and says, half-heartedly, we better get up. What time is it? I shut a fool away from him to glance at my watch. Shit, it's nearly 8. What can we make for dinner? I think of the fridge downstairs, bursting with food. I'm starving, and we haven't finished exploring. I can't wait to have a further poke about their house. I've never done anything like this before. Never stayed in an Airbnb or swapped houses. Even Jamie, who grew up in his leafy, middle-class cul-de-sac with his professional university-educated parents, seems impressed by what he's seen so far. I swing my legs out of the bed. The floorboards warm beneath my feet. They must have had underfloor heating. They got it made right now. Killing it. The suitcase is still in the corner of the room where Jamie dumped it earlier, and I rustle around inside for my dressing gown. I can't go anywhere without it. Jamie can't understand why I want to wrap myself up in it at every available opportunity. He doesn't even possess one. I pull it around me now, snaking my good arm through the sleeve and letting the soft gray Velcro drape over my sling. It was one of the first things Jamie bought me when we started going out together 4.5 years ago. Okay. He stayed over at my little apartment when he clapped eyes on my threadbare toweling dressing gown with a pocket hanging off. He'd taken the piss out of it. 2 days later, on a cold Sunday afternoon, he surprised me with this one. That's when I'm truly falling for him. Ziggy's going to need feeding too. The poor mite. We hadn't left this room that afternoon. When Jamie doesn't answer, I turn around to see his naked stiletto grope in the wall. What are you doing? Looking for the light switch? I can't see a bloody thing. How did it get dark so quickly? That's the trouble with being in the middle of the country, I muse. No street lamps, no car headlights sweeping across the room as they pass outside our window. Not like our busy Bath Street where you're just one of a crowd. Safe, anonymous. I start to snicker. What's so funny? But I can hear the amusement in his voice. This is fucking ridiculous, Lips. I can't find the sobbing thing. I blink, trying to encourage my eyes to adjust so I can help him. But the darkness folds around us like smog. We both paw at the wall in vain, and my arm knocks against something hard, sending what I assume is an ornament to the floor with a thud. Shit! I jump back, noticing a set of shelves above my head. I peer down at the object that's fallen. It looks like some sort of bird. I take a sharp intake of breath. Jamie is by my side in an instant. What is it? It looks like a dead animal. It's face down on the floor, but I can see that it's large and has feathers. He crouches down and turns it over. It's an owl. He gently picks it up and moves to the window, holding it up against the scant moonlight. Oh, so now the moonlight's coming in. I thought it was, the dark was like the smog and it was just swallowing up everybody in the fucking room. But now, the moon, we need a little light, so. Yeah, like really, for real, we need a little light to see what the fuck, see what the owl look like. I look over his shoulder, surprised to see that it's stuffed. Jamie grazes at it in amusement, but it gives me the crease with his staring dead eyes. Put it back, Jay. I hiss, as though expecting Philip or Tiara to walk through the door any second. Oh, so it's alright for you to go through Tara's wardrobe, touching her shoes and trying on her dresses. I didn't try on her dress. It was too long. I'll probably only come up to her armpits. I gave a snort of laughter, suddenly finding the situation ludicrous. Luderous. What is ludanarous? What is ludanarous? I just made up another word. If you think you should help me, how you feel in the comments below. Luderous. It was luderous. I'm pleased to see that Jamie's grinning as he reaches up and places the owl back on the shelf, stroking his head tenderly. He susses softly where animals are concerned, even dead ones, it seems. Shouldn't you put some clothes on? You're standing in full view of the window. I run my eyes over his light, raggedy body, dual gray by the lack of light, but I could still just make out the fine blonde hairs that travel from his belly button to his groin. I feel the deep stirring of desire. Today was the only second time we'll have sex since the miscarriage. Now suddenly I can't get enough of him. He flexes his pectoral muscles as though he's in a bodybuilding contest, and I laugh. We're in the middle of nowhere. Who's going to be able to see me? I roll my eyes in mock frustration. There must be another way to turn the lights on. Of course, he exclaims. It sounds activated. I've seen people doing it in films. He claps his hands together. Nothing happens. He claps again, twice, in quick succession, and suddenly the spotlights overwhelm beam down on us, almost blinding us with their intensity. Okay, got them lights on. Go. We got them lights on. Got them lights on. Is there a more optimal setting, I ask, trying to blink away the black spots that are swarming in front of my vision? How the hell should I know? He claps twice, and we are once again plunged into darkness. Oh, fuck this. Why can't they have light switches like normal people? He bends over to pull on the jeans that are swung over the bottom of the bed frame, and then we make our way downstairs. Fumbling our way in the darkness, Jamie walking purposely in front of me, guiding me down the stairs. So you won't fall and come and hurt yourself. When we reach the bottom of the glass stairs, Jamie claps and immediately the spotlights blaze on. Surely there must be some sort of remote, he grumbles, heading towards the kitchen. I feel like an idiot with all this hand clapping. I followed him, zigging my heels. As I went round the corner, I stopped, my heart thudding. The front door is wide open, swinging on its hinges. I can feel the draft blowing around my ankles. I see the frown on Jamie's face as he goes to close it. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't have to. We close that door, I say, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. He looks uncertain, but I know it's an act. Ever since the fire at the school, he's been walking on air shows around me, trying to convince me to talk to his mom or another therapist about the possibility of post-traumatic stress disorder. I know I haven't got PTSD, though. How can I have when I survived something far worse before? I couldn't have shut it properly. It must have shrunk open in the wind. He was looking at me as he heads into the kitchen. Yeah, y'all not gonna talk about that. We gotta get the fuck up. We gotta get up out this house. We gotta squeeze really quick. We gotta get out this house. Nope, we going home. Y'all gonna have to stay in the hotel. I'm not liking this house. I followed silently and sit at the island to watch as he opens and closes dressers in his hunt for a remote. My mind racing. How long has the door been open for? We arrived at 4 p.m. Was it open all that time? Anyone could have walked in off the street. Do you remember when you was out in the middle of nowhere? The street? Is you near a street? Then I remind myself that there is no street. That this isn't the estate where I grew up in Yorkshire, or our busy road in Bath that's nearly always full of traffic. People sauntering past, or kids coming home from one of the many schools in the area. Even in the dead of the night, the blue flashing lights of an ambulance or a police car flicker through the fabric of the curtains at our bedroom window. Yes, says Jamie trumpedly, holding up an electronic device. This is the bad boy I've been looking for. He prods and presses at the buttons, causing the lights to flash as though we're at a disco. Working man's club my dad used to take me to when I was a kid. The door was left open for hours. Someone could be in the house. The thought knocks into me, making me feel physically sick. Jamie will get cross if I mention it. I know he will. He'll say I'm being irrational, and he'll start droning on that therapy again. In the happy, easy way we have been with each other since we arrived will be placed by tension. I try to push the thought away, but it's in my head now. It's taking root and will grow if I don't find a way to stop it in its tracks. I used to be good at pushing such destructive thoughts from my mind. But since the fire, I can't stop myself imagining the worst. And I'm finding it harder and harder to remain positive. Ziggy whines, staring at me beseechingly with his big brown eyes. Oh, God, Ziggy. I'm sorry, I say, jumping down from the leather and chrome bar stool. Jay, where did you put Ziggy's food? He says, not looking up. Ziggy food, where is it? Oh, in the top cupboard by the sink. The units are headless, and I press my palm against the cool glass doors to open them. I empty a packet of dog food into Ziggy's bowl, trying to avoid his nose as he immediately starts to guzzle it. Right, Jamie says. Got this thing sussed now. We won't be in the dark again, my darling. He grins at me. Then a smile slips off his face. What's wrong? Nothing. Libby, you look terrified. What's the matter? It's the door. I can tell he's forcing down a sigh. What about it? It was open for ages, Jay. I don't know. I just feel unnerved by it. Yeah. He doesn't tell me I'm being paranoid. He doesn't have to. It's written all over his face. Wordlessly, he leaves the room, and I stand with Ziggy, wondering if he's going off in a huff, although that's not like Jamie. She's usually so patient. I try not to play out scenarios in my head of Jamie being struck over the head by a burglar. All I can hear are snuffling noises of Ziggy wolfing down his food. Eventually, Jamie walks back into the kitchen. I've been around the whole house to put your mind at rest. Nothing. There are no intruders. Statistically, we're safe here than in Bath. Although, his face bursts into a grin. I find a few more stuffed animals. The Haywoods like their taxidermy. The stuffed animals seem at odds with the modern furnishing, but I shrug, trying not to show how relieved I am there is no madman lurking in the shadows. I know I'm being silly. He snakes her hand around my shoulders and pulls me into him, kissing my hair. I understand. It's that fight or flight thing, Lips. After the fire, your senses are on high alert. But you have to switch off now. You have to stop seeing everything as a potential threat. That's one of the reasons we came away. I just wish you'd see someone. He sounds like Sylvia. Jamie, everyone is not like you or your family. I didn't grow up having my own fucking therapist. He moves away, holding his hands up in surrender. I know. I know. It's not how you were brought up. You keep telling me, which reminds me, I need to text Mom to let her know we arrived safely. He reaches into his back pocket to retrieve his phone and looks at the screen. His face falls. Great, no reception. He goes to the fridge and opens it. Anyway, what are we going to cook up for dinner? There's a plethora of organic delights in here. They're spoiled us. I smile, but I'm not really taking in what he's saying because another thought has entered my head. I never shared it with him because if I did, he would have frog marched me to a therapist himself. But I can't stop replaying it in my mind anyhow. What if the fire at the school wasn't an accident? Okay, that's a good question. So I got a lot of questions. So, y'all muzzle this over, and don't worry. We'll be right back. So.